Welcome to Tech Intersect. I'm your host, Tanya Evans, and my life and work exist at the heart of law, business, and technology. Yeah, I've earned a few fancy titles and degrees over the years, but the bottom line is I'm a writer, speaker, teacher, and lifelong learner, and I'm really excited that you've joined me on this journey. So what is Tech Intersect? Well, it's authentic, empowering conversations with really interesting guests who demystify complex topics to prepare you for the future. Because your future is now. And it exists where law, business, and tech intersect. Get ready to listen, learn, and leverage. Let's get started. In this episode of Tech Intersect, I speak with Lynnette Khalfani-Cox, the money coach. She's a professional finance expert, speaker, and author of 15 money management books and counting, including the New York Times bestseller, Zero Debt, The Ultimate Guide to Financial Freedom. Lynnette has been seen on more than 1,000 TV segments nationwide, including television appearances on Oprah, Dr. Phil, The Dr. Oz Show, The Steve Harvey Show, Good Morning America, The Today Show, CNBC, and many more. A former financial news journalist, Lynnette now co-owns the moneycoach.net LLC, a financial education company that she runs with her amazing husband, Earl Cox. Together, they offer financial education consulting services, courses, and workshops. Lynnette shares a treasure trove of information about navigating the stimulus package rules for individuals and small businesses, and she shares sound strategies on managing your money and not only protecting, but maximizing your credit rating even in times of crisis. We also talk about entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship, where you can be entrepreneurial even in corporate America or academia. So it's time to listen, learn, and leverage. Let's get started. Today, I have the great fortune to speak with the money coach, Lynnette Khalfani-Cox. As a subject matter expert on many personal finance topics, a prolific writer, Lynnette creates financial education curricula and content. She also provides strategic counsel to entities that seek to launch financial products, services, apps, or other financial tech tools. And most recently, this financial literacy superwoman, yes, superwoman, delivered an outstanding keynote titled From Setbacks to Success, Thriving Financially in Any Environment at the Phoenix Rising Virtual Summit. I had the honor to co-host that with Shantavia Johnson. We'll talk about that in a moment. But first, let me welcome Lynnette.
Well, thank you so much for having me on the broadcast. I'm so looking forward to our conversation. It's a good follow-up to the summit.
Absolutely, absolutely. And let's do this. I love, and I know that you've done so many interviews regionally, nationally, internationally, that in some sense, and certainly through your books, that a lot of your origin story has been out there. But I really think that it sets the tone for what we will ultimately talk about today. So what led you to the financial literacy industry and what you're doing right now?
The main thing that led me into my work as a financial literacy consultant and money coach is that I was a hot mess financially.
That helps. A bottom moment helps.
And so, no, but if I'm honest, it was a combination of my personal experiences and my professional background. So I am being candid when I say that I was a hot mess financially. I had bad credit. I had debt. I had massive amounts of student loans. Back in the day in college, I had my car repossessed. So I've been through all kind of financial drama. And the fact that I've lived and survived and done well to get to the other side and know what it's like now to basically live in a world of abundance and freedom and happiness about my financial situation and otherwise.
Yes.
Is probably, I guess, a huge part of what qualifies me to talk to folks about money matters. But of course, my professional background has helped a lot as well. I was a journalist by background and training. I got my master's degree in journalism from USC and in broadcast journalism specifically. And then I kind of parlayed my journalism career as a writer and a reporter into financial journalism. So I was with Dow Jones, which was the parent company of the Wall Street Journal, for a decade. I was a CNBC correspondent on TV. I was a Wall Street Journal reporter for CNBC for several years. And so in my capacity as a financial journalist, I really was constantly talking to financial experts about money. And so I would always ask them what they were doing with their clients and what was working, like what was helping people to become better savers or better investors or better attuned to what was going on in the real estate market, et cetera.
Right.
And after a while, I was like, okay, this is not rocket science. I got this. I was explaining it to other people in my articles, and I was talking about it on television. And I was like, I could do this too. I can do this personally for myself, and I could teach others how to best manage their finances. So I really, again, went from the sort of journalism, the mainstream journalism, into financial journalism. And then in 2003, when I went through a downsizing, when I lost my job, again, as a Wall Street Journal reporter for CNBC, me and 200 other people that they let go because of just a slump in advertising revenue and kind of weaknesses in the media industry at that time. I just decided, well, what's the next phase? What's the next thing for me? And people, some people asked me what I was going to do. And the only answer that I could really come up with was, I'm going to do the exact same thing that I have been doing, which I really loved doing. Right. I'm going to talk about money matters. I'm going to write about it. I'm going to get on TV and talk about it. And so my last day on air at CNBC was March 1st, 2003. And that same month, March 2003, I started my company. And so I've never looked back. It's been, 17 plus years, and it's worked. And I get to make way more money working for myself, frankly, than I ever did in corporate America, even though I was nicely compensated and had a good 6-figure salary in corporate America and all that good stuff. But I much rather prefer the path of being an entrepreneur and owning my own business. I can tell you that.
That makes a lot of sense to me. And I definitely have an entrepreneurial spirit. I do have a day job where I receive W-2 income, but oftentimes I refer to that as my side hustle. It's what I do as I loan myself out, my services out to someone else for a time. And that works for me. I love academia and all the things that I do. It affords me a nice lifestyle. But to your point, if someone's going to pay you a nice 6-figure salary, that means somebody else is making a lot more money than that, if that's what they will pay you and everybody else who works in that institution, that agency, that industry. So the point is well made. And I hope that we weave that thought as a thread through everything that we speak to, because ultimately, particularly now that we are talking in the age of the COVID-19 health and financial crises that permeates not just a neighborhood or a state or a country, but the entire world, literally. And the role that entrepreneurs will play ultimately in ensuring that we come back in a major way, because major corporations are what they are. They have always been here in our recent history. They will remain, but the real lifeblood, particularly in this country and around the world, I imagine, is the entrepreneurial spirit, the quote unquote moms and pops of the world who really make the engine run. And that makes me also think of the information that you shared at the Phoenix Rising Summit. Lynnette, you were amazing. I've looked at all the reviews. You knocked it out of the park. You kicked it off as our first keynote and set the energy and the tone when you talked about from setbacks to success, thriving financially in any environment. And even though we were focused on the current pandemic and the financial and health crisis of today, what we just learned by the testimony you shared is that you brought yourself out of a crisis that wasn't a pandemic, but it was a problem, a concern, a crisis for you in your life. And you use that as the basis along with your educational training to help others. So before I get into a bit more about the high notes of what you talked about then in terms of thriving financially, what was it? I know I got so much from even planning it. It was done in basically 3 weeks. We pulled together you, Minda Harts, Arlen Hamilton, some other phenomenal experts, but it was such a short period of time. You could have done anything with that time. You're very busy. What was it about the mission and the spirit of the summit that led you to want to participate?
You love listening to podcasts, but have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? Maybe you want to build a brand, grow your business, or are looking for an excuse to talk about your favorite hobby. Whatever your reason for making a podcast, Buzzsprout is the place to start. Since 2009, Buzzsprout has helped over 300,000 people launch their own podcasts. Buzzsprout walks you step by step through the whole process and will give you powerful tools to start, grow, and monetize your podcast. Ready to get started? Click the link in the show notes to get our free step-by-step guide to starting your podcast today.
Well, it was multiple things. One, it was you. I mean, honestly, Earl, my husband, shared with you honestly that when you guys asked us, we're like, yes,
Yeah.
I really am a big believer in supporting other women, especially women of color. I love folks who are entrepreneurial. And I don't mean entrepreneurial in terms of have their own business entrepreneurial. I mean an entrepreneurial spirit in
Mm.
terms of innovation, in terms of creativity, in terms of taking the initiative to address a problem. And really, that's the heart of what entrepreneurship is about. It's about finding a need and filling it. And so you guys saw that there was a need for speakers, for example, who could no longer get on the road and do the normal things we would do and go speak and offer our knowledge and expertise at, say, a conference or convention, at a lunch and learn, whatever, because of the fact that COVID-19 had forced a lot of shutdowns and caused a number of stay-at-home orders to be issued throughout the vast majority of the country.
Right.
So I like the idea of helping women. I like the idea of being able to support my sisters in particular.
Yes.
I love the idea of creativity and innovation and saying, look, it's time to pivot. We have to be responsive to market conditions and industry forces and the environment, whatever type of environment we might find ourselves in. And as Black women in particular, we've always kind of had that motto, like, one monkey don't stop no show. Okay.
Right. Absolutely.
One problem, that's not going to just make us, throw off our game. We might get a little knocked back and we might have setbacks. And indeed, all of us have had setbacks, but that's not going to keep me down on the mat. Nobody's going to be out for the count just because, you took one hit. So I like the entire idea of being able to bring to bear my expertise, my knowledge. And I knew that not only could I share some financial tips and information that would help people to economically thrive and survive in this environment, I knew that I'd be able to talk to a universe of other, some like-minded, some aspirational, and some above me in terms of their career trajectory or the methodology, the tactics and strategies that they used. And it's great. It's fulfilling to be in a room, even a virtual room, where you have, so much talent and so many people to learn from at different levels. And so all of that is what attracted me and made me want to participate in the Phoenix Rising Summit and just do my little small part.
Oh, and that's exactly why we came together to do something like that. And so I appreciate very much the comments, and we definitely had that intended impact was the actual impact that people experienced. And I learned a lot too. And so the point is well made about, helping those who aspire to be where we are. Then you have like-minded spirits, and then those who have really catapulted into a new level of success. And I'm a lifelong learner. And so I very much enjoy just the connection that I think that we are missing in this, necessarily so, as we have to physically distance. But life goes on, business goes on. The seeds that we plant today will come to fruition in the future. So we better have the right seeds in the right soil. And so we hope that we began that with the summit. And we certainly enjoyed having you on as well. And you really hit home with the points that you shared about thriving financially in any environment. Would you care to share just a couple of pointers, as I know people are asking you for advice for a range of topics. We'll talk more specifically about small businesses in a moment, but just in general, as you think about your own experience and some of the things that you have shared with others, what are some of the first things people can do to get themselves together financially in any environment, but in this crisis in particular? People are taking hits to their credit. maybe have a job insecurity, paycheck insecurity. They might be paying rent, or they might be a landlord, right?
Right.
But in general, there are some high level things that people need to do to at least get clear and get settled so that they can get started.
Right. And well, one of the things that I shared at the summit, which I saw from comments and in the chat and et cetera, and our virtual after party
Yes.
that got posed, one of the concepts I shared was about what I call placing two bets. And
Yes.
about basically not having all your eggs in one basket. And so I think that is a relevant point for a lot of us, certainly, a lot of your listeners in many, many ways right now. So I was trying to get across the idea that it's actually risky to have only one income stream. But I also want to emphasize that placing two bets is more than just about having more. It's about the benefits of diversification, especially from a career standpoint. So if I could touch very briefly on part of the conversation that we had earlier, we were talking about, academia, entrepreneurship, getting a W-2, and how you were saying that, that's your side, hustle,
Right.
The job that you kind of, jokingly call it your side hustle.
Right.
I really want to tell people too that even though I am a passionate supporter of entrepreneurship, and again, I love to see people be entrepreneurial in their thinking, right? Because you can be entrepreneurial within an organization that you're working for, where you're getting a check and you're a W-2 employee. That doesn't mean that you can't be entrepreneurial. On the contrary, you have a lot of opportunity to be entrepreneurial. But I like to tell people that even though I'm a huge advocate of entrepreneurship, I definitely understand that it's not for everybody. It's not the path for everybody.
Right.
And frankly, everybody doesn't even want to do it, And so I think that at some level, when you think about placing two bets and having multiple strategies to achieve multiple income sources, et cetera, it's also about understanding where you're most comfortable in the workplace and how you like to show up. So there's some people who are really good in corporate America. Right. I was one of those people. I got bonuses, I got stock options, I got promotions, I got benefits that were not afforded to others. And I did really, really well in corporate America. So it wasn't like my departure from corporate America and the reason why I became an entrepreneur was, oh my God, they did me so wrong. No, I had a really good time in corporate America. I'm going to tell you. Some people do really well in academia. Right. And they can thrive within that structure. And you mentioned, for example, the fact that you're a lifelong learner, which is in part one of those traits where people who are in academia tend to do very well there. Right. And so the placing two bets strategy is also about recognizing, like, every one of us has, kind of multiple facets to our personality. You're collecting a check, but you also have this entrepreneurial side of you, where you're not putting all your eggs in the basket of, what you get paid as a professor, or, services you might offer on the legal front, or what you might do kind of entrepreneurially on the side. You are a multifaceted, wonderfully made person. And so you're able to tap into all of those things. So you're placing multiple bets. Mm-hmm. You're not just doing one thing, because you're not just one person who's, only following one sort of, predefined path. Right. You're able to explore a lot of interests and tap into the talents that you have, and to do so effectively in ways that kind of weaves it all together, and that it's related, what you do. So in any event, I just want people to understand that concept of placing two bets and how it reduces risk, how it increases your options, how it diversifies your income stream, how it gives you more career and professional alternatives, and how it can be extremely helpful to you if you really started using the strategy in multiple areas of your life.
We hope you're enjoying this edition of Tech Intersect. Our conversation will continue in a moment, but first, a word on an exciting opportunity.
The Tech Intersect podcast is released to the public every Friday. But as an Advantage Evans member, you'll receive first listen access and live Tech Intersect Connect video chats. Premium members also receive a copy of my ebook, The Gen Xer's Guide to Upskilling in a Web 3.0 World, and unlimited access to the video chat replays and bonus episodes. My pro members, ready to leverage what they've listened to and learned, receive access to the Upskilling Self-Guided course and VIP group coaching calls. So as you can see, Advantage Evans membership adds substantial value to your podcast experience. And there are 3 ways to take advantage, see what I did right there, of all that the Tech Intersect podcast has to offer. So subscribe now and let's listen, learn, and leverage together.
If you're an engineer, you're a scientist, you love Formula One, you love cycling, you love learning about how new technologies are changing the world around us, then I thought you may want to listen into my new podcast, the Neil Ashton Podcast. We talk to leading engineers and scientists from around the world, hear about their life stories, hear about new technologies, and hopefully educate you and give you a better sense of how key things like machine learning, artificial intelligence, supercomputing are changing the world around us. If that sounds like it's something you might like, you should come and have a listen.
And now, back to the conversation.
And that was one of the key, one of the key takeaways. I recently sent out a follow-up survey for the summit, and one of the key takeaways always came up about placing 2 bets. And it is about reducing risk and increasing options. Everything that I have done, and certainly my training through my parents, is make sure that you have options so that you have agency in the world. Choices today are going to create options, and then I get to choose. And this life can be a very difficult life if you don't get to choose.
That's right. And even now, Tanya, as you know, folks are navigating this COVID-19 outbreak, think about it financially, whether you're an employee, an entrepreneur, et cetera. Think about the ways in which you can place 2 bets. So, we know, for example, that the CARES package was a $2.2 trillion stimulus measure, and it had a lot of benefits and a lot of resources, essentially, that are being doled out to different groups: individuals, couples, families, small business owners, investors, people who have a 401k plan or retirement plans, et cetera. Mm-hmm. Many, many, many components. But if all you're doing is saying, okay, I'm going to wait for that stimulus check, the $1,200 stimulus check, the so-called stimulus check, the economic impact payments that have been sent out and are still being sent out.
Right.
When you're just placing 1 bet, you're saying, okay, I'm an individual, I'm a taxpayer, I qualify for this. But what about if you qualify for unemployment? Then you need to be applying for unemployment and making that an option. What about if you're a small business owner who has had your products or services disrupted by coronavirus, and you could benefit from, say, SBA loan funding?
Yes.
The PPP loan program, or EIDL, PPP being the Paycheck Protection Program, and EIDL being the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. Maybe you might apply for both. You're placing 2 bets. You can't get the same funding and support for the exact same purpose. Like if you're trying to get money to cover payroll for your business, you can't do payroll for both of them. But if you needed to cover rent, if you have a facility, for example, or your utilities or something, and you covered that with, say, the EIDL, and if you covered payroll with the PPP loan, which is a forgivable loan, then you're good. Right. So again, this concept of placing 2 bets is also about what we proactively tap into. So if you're sick right now, then you should stay home, maintain quarantine. But if you're sick because of coronavirus, you know what? You could get sick pay. And that is covering up to 100% of your salary for a cap of $511 per day for 10 days. So you might tap into those benefits. If you are at home taking care of a kid who is 14 or under, and their school has been closed down, or maybe you have a younger kid who was in daycare and you're trying to run your business, but now you got a 3-year-old running all around. And so you really can't work because you're taking care of the kids. Then, guess what? You might tap into family medical leave benefits, federally guaranteed up to 2/3 of your salary, up to a maximum of $200 per day for 10 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So that caps out at $10,000. Again, go on and apply for that. You let your employer know if you need it. If you've, again, been sick or diagnosed with coronavirus or COVID, if a spouse or a family member has been sick in the house and you're taking care of them, or on the family medical leave side, if you're taking care of a kid at home, you just let your employer know and they give you paperwork to fill out online. Essentially, you file a claim through your employer's insurance company. But again, so this strategy of tapping into benefits that are available, whether you're an employee or an entrepreneur, et cetera, this is part of the, place in two bet strategy. Don't put all your eggs in one basket and just say, okay, I'm just going to rely on my income I'm going to try to work hard and hustle and, get my business going here. Do that, but also apply for that PPP loan. Also apply for that EIDL. Also claim those sick pay or medical leave benefits that you might be entitled to. If your work is suffering, or if your hours are reduced or your pay has been cut, if you've been furloughed, if you've been laid off, or even if you're a small business employee, a small business owner, or even a contractor, a 1099 worker, a freelancer, et cetera, you now qualify for unemployment benefits as well.
Right.
You know what? I know it's a pain, but get into the system, go on and apply for that. Again, you're giving yourself options so that once that unemployment does kick in, okay, you might be getting about $1,000 per week. And then that will be helping you and your family to be sustained during this outbreak.
It's so important that this is really, really great information. And it's so important that people actually go through the process of applying. In order to do that, understanding the rules. And you have a lot of fantastic material out there that you've written. I've seen some of your videos. I'm going to drop those in the show links as well. Show notes, I should say. What I've heard anecdotally is that there are a number of people, particularly in the Black community, who have listened to the news that there's no more money, it's not worth it, I'm not going to go through the hassle. Could you just bring the point home of how important it is to figure out what needs to be done and to do it, particularly because we don't know how long this is going to last. And I don't want people to be discouraged by the news that says there's nothing left, and then people kind of turn off and don't get what they are entitled to, especially benefits that we've paid into perhaps over many, many years.
That's right. And the key point here is that there are a variety of benefits, not just one. There's about a dozen potential financial benefits that people can tap into based on the 3 stimulus packages, because it wasn't just one. Of course, most of the conversation has been around the largest of the 3 measures, the $2.2 trillion CARES Act that was passed on March 27th. But before that, there was the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. And then before that one, there was another $3.5 billion or so stimulus measure that Congress passed. So those other 2 passed in early and in mid-March. And the long and short of it is that, yes, whether it's several of the benefits that I've mentioned between sick pay, family medical leave, unemployment compensation, or other things like SNAP benefits, food benefits.
Right.
So the legislation put more than $1 billion into additional SNAP funding, plus a ton of other money into other food-related and nutrition support programs. SNAP, is Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or food stamps. And under normal conditions, under normal circumstances, I know a lot of people listening might be like, oh, that's for quote unquote poor people. That's not for me. Well, yeah, right now it might be for you. Okay. Because this is unprecedented time, and SNAP benefits and TANF. TANF is the Temporary Assistance to Needy Families. Those are 2 programs that are based on your income and on the assets, what you have in the bank. And so right now, again, we're, well into May. And so if you've been like keeping your family afloat the last couple months, but now the savings have kind of, dried up, or if you've gotten furloughed or reduced hours, or, the work isn't simply there, then yes, you might qualify for SNAP or TANF benefits. And some of that can provide cash benefits on the TANF side, emergency stuff for housing. Again, for food is a basic need that, needs to be covered. And the average family of 4 in America spends about $1,000 a month, about $250 per person. So just having food and not having to buy that food yourself, getting the cash to be able to pay for that food is certainly a welcome thing for people. And even beyond that, maybe you still have a job, maybe you're not, maybe you're like, okay, thank the Lord, knock on wood, I'm still working. maybe you have a 401k on the job or 403b. Even the rules around that have changed, and people need to understand because they've loosened a lot of the guidelines to basically make it more feasible for you to tap into any retirement assets that you might have.
Right.
So if you have a 401k or 403b, for example, 457 plans, all of those, you used to be able to only take out $50,000 in terms of a withdrawal. Now you can take out $100,000. And there's no 10% penalty if you're not 59 and a half. Now, under normal circumstances, there would be that 10% penalty, but nope, Uncle Sam is waiving that penalty. Likewise, if you want to take a loan from one of those retirement plans, you can now take a loan of up to $100,000. And in the past, it was only a $50,000 cap. So they've made it a lot more, they made it a lot easier to tap into the money if you need to because of coronavirus. And also they've made it easier on the back end for you to have options for how you handle it. So with the withdrawal, you normally would have to pay ordinary income taxes on that withdrawal, right? I already told you waive the 10% penalty, but normally you have to pay taxes because you got a tax break up front when you put the money in, right?
Right.
But right now they're saying you don't even have to pay taxes on it if you don't want to. How? You can recontribute the money that you withdraw, and they let you do it over a 3-year period. So you can strategically say, okay, you know what? I'm going to take $20,000 out of my 401k. Now, I'm not advocating and saying this is what you should do. I'm saying for the person who needs to, or for the person who wants to, from a strategic standpoint, to do something with the money that could potentially generate more money, it could be a viable option here. So let's say you take out $20,000, or let's say $24,000, just to use a round, not exactly a round, but easily a number
for the year.
They give you 3 years. So if you put $8,000 back, 2021, $8,000 back 2022, and $8,000 back in the year 2023,
right?
Then guess what? That's not even taxable. You don't have to pay any taxes at all on it. Right. So, again, we have to know that a lot of times knowledge is power, to really understand and not just, listen to the water cooler folks who are like, oh, the money is gone. The money is
right. That expert at the water cooler. Right.
Exactly. So, and let's be honest, let's be real. There were glitches in the programs. There were difficulties. It was chaos in terms of the PPP small business loan program, in terms of just a crazy level of rule changes, banks being confused by what the processes should have been, and Treasury and SBA not issuing guidance on time, and a whole bunch of other mess. And indeed, we also saw a rush of, big publicly traded even companies coming in there in that first round that was almost $350 billion worth of PPP loans. They just took up all the money. About almost 50% of it went to businesses who got loans of $1 million or more. Right. So, and then a lot of them wound up having to give the money back. So, but the point I'm making is that, yes, that money ran out in 13 days flat. But subsequent to that, Congress did authorize another $320 billion in additional funding, $60 billion earmarked specifically to go through minority institutions, community-based lenders, et cetera. Right. So no, if you're going to say, oh, it doesn't exist, make sure that you really have a full understanding of, when you talk about it doesn't exist, what doesn't exist? You saying the SNAP benefits don't exist, the loan money doesn't exist, the sick pay, the funding that you can get for your business, so keep applying. Don't count yourself out before you really should.
Absolutely. That's what my Nana used to say, don't quit 5 minutes before the miracle.
There you go.
And also, you have to DYOR, do your own research. My gift to the listeners after I go through this information again is to go and connect people to all of the information to make it as easy as possible for you to do your own research, figure out what is in your best interest. If you need to talk to advisors, there is no legal or financial advice. Lynnette and I are just talking, but we're talking with some experience about the way where you should go for additional information to even prepare yourself for a conversation with a professional. So please, please, please don't quit 5 minutes before the miracle. All right. We're going to close out talking about the other thing, because we've mentioned I'm an educator and a lifelong learner. So I also love the Money Coach University that you have created. I'm in the process of creating my own university as well, and kicking the tires, developing my content. And so I love to see others who have forged that path ahead of me, you and the Terry Egiomas of the world, and Arlen Hamilton, putting together some amazing online content in order to really help people take a deeper dive in your area of expertise. So talk to me about the university, how it benefits the listeners, how they can benefit from it and take advantage of it.
Sure. So I really love moneycoachuniversity.com for several reasons, mainly because it allows me to make a bigger impact and to reach a wider audience. And so, again, I've had my business for 17 years. And for many years, I did a lot more one-on-one coaching.
Right.
But if I'm honest, that is a limited business model in terms of the number of people that I can reach. And frankly, I feel more comfortable to be able to charge people a lower price point, something that's more affordable through Money Coach University, because it's a digital offering that I can scale. So not only can I reach more people, because it's only one of me, and I can't, if I literally had to coach or even tried to coach all the people who want my coaching
Right.
one-on-one, I would do nothing other than coaching, and I would be exhausted.
Right.
Because there's a lot of, as you know, a lot of prep work and a lot of follow-up and a lot that goes into it. So one of the reasons that we built Money Coach University, and I practically shouldn't say we, I should really say Earl, he's the tech guru in the family, and he's the other half, the better half, I should even say, of this sort of dynamic duo. But I do the content and he actually runs it operationally, functionally, and all the technical side of the back end. But essentially, it's a learning-based platform. It's a video-based platform where people can get coaching from me and take video-based classes, as well as email-based coursework, because they'll get a lot of tools through the university. So we have homework assignments, we have quizzes attached to it. We're building in extra features where people are getting certificates at the end of each course.
Good.
And it teaches them a wide variety of skills and things that they need to be able to manage their money better. So some people want to learn about budgeting. Some people want to learn about credit, how to improve their credit. Some people want to learn about how to get out of debt. Some people want to learn about home ownership. Some people want to learn about negotiating. I have a course on there called Negotiating, the Art of Negotiating for Women. So there's a variety of topics that we address there. And yeah, I love it because it addresses the real life, kind of bread and butter issues that folks face. And so we're super proud of it. And it has free content on there as well. Yes, most of the courses on there are paid, but there are definitely some free courses on there as well.
Mm-hmm.
I have a life insurance course on there that's free. I have a home ownership course on there that's free. I have a debt course on there that's free. But again, it's really to provide tools in a way that is most helpful, not only just in this environment, but just, even pre-COVID-19, because online courses and video-based coaching is, what we call an asynchronous method of learning.
Right.
Meaning we all don't have to be synced up at the exact same time. If I do a live webinar and if I tell you, okay, come on and join me, Wednesday at 7:00, then everybody has to hop on there at 7:00. But in this format, it's on your time, your schedule, when you're able to do so. And so it's just very easy, convenient, 24/7 on demand.
I very much love the asynchronous model, and I think it's just transformed education and accessibility to the information and the tools, as you say, that people need to really take their lives, their finances, their careers, their families to the next level. And it also is the precursor to generational wealth. I know that's critically important to you. You and I have talked about that before. And this is where we begin right now. We can't do all the things, but we can do something. Right. And so I'm really excited to connect listeners with the Money Coach University and with you and all you have to offer.
Can I offer your listeners also a discount?
Please, please. Listeners love the discounts, and I'm writing it down too. Please do share.
Okay, great. So one of the things that I know a lot of people have been worried about during the COVID-19 outbreak is their credit. If people are saying, what if I don't pay this bill or that? What's going to happen to my credit? I've, done some content around that, free content. I'm not trying to tell people, you don't have to go, to Money Coach University for this, but on askthemoneycoach.com, I have a lot of content around free content again around COVID-19 related issues. But just bottom line, I know that a lot of people are worried about credit. So one of my courses on Money Coach University is called Perfect Credit. And this course is a 6-week course. And it was built basically on the same principles that I shared in my book called Perfect Credit, 7 Steps to a Great Credit Rating. And so I teach people, a whole host of things, everything from how the FICO system really works to, how to get negative stuff removed off your credit report to, some surprising things that you might not know about the credit system. So there's a series of videos, 19 of them. There's checklists, there's sample letters, there's downloads, there's extra articles people can read. So again, you're kind of getting my personalized coaching on how to get what I call not just good credit, but excellent, perfect credit, meaning a FICO score in the 760 to 850 point range. So I wanted to extend a 10% discount off this course to your listeners. And we'll make sure that we share with you a special link or a specific code that they can use. And maybe we'll just use Tanya. Everybody just use Tanya. I want Earl to make it that so that we'll share that and then folks can know, even if they log on to moneycoachuniversity.com and sign up for that perfect credit course and use Tanya, Tonya, and then they'll really remember who sent them there and who gave them the hookup there.
I like that. The only child in me loves that. I love a good shout out.
It's all about you.
That is amazing. Yeah. And it's going to be critically important as people come out of the ashes of this experience. I know that there are many creditors who are treating people with kindness and not sending dings to the credit agencies, but many are not following that suit. And there, as you said, there's so much information that we don't know that is there. People often don't check in just to do, a yearly check to go through. Is all of this information accurate and correct?
Right.
It is. And this is a moment, if you don't already do this, to get into that habit, to go through this process for perfect credit, the 7 steps. Clearly, they are proven to work and can put you in a much better position and to really shore yourself up for the next part of your life and also whatever that next crisis in your life might be. So I appreciate you very much offering that discount and the wealth of information that you do, Lynnette. Tell people how they can connect with you, and I will be sure to share that as well in the show notes.
Sure. So I'm on social media. Everything is either my full name, Lynnette Khalfani-Cox, and Lynnette with 2 N's, Lynnette, Khalfani, Khalfani, Cox, Cox. So you'll find me on Instagram, Lynnette Khalfani-Cox, on LinkedIn, the same thing, or on Twitter and Facebook at The Money Coach. So just literally at The Money Coach on Twitter and on Facebook, The Money Coach as well. So easily, you just find me. It won't. That's my trademark name, and I know you know about that.
I love a good trademark. A registered mark is
for a dozen years. Lynnette Khalfani-Cox, the Money Coach. Yes, up in this joint. You probably know some money coaches, but I'm
right.
Lynnette. I'm the original
Money Coach. That's right. Don't get it twisted. I adore that about your business. I love everything you do. You have a fan for life and a friend for life and a sister for life. I appreciate you very much and your entire family. And this is the second of many opportunities we'll have to connect. You know where I live. Anything you need from me, I'm a text, a phone call, a pigeon messenger away. And we will keep this going and we'll continue rising together.
I appreciate that.
Wow. I hope you feel informed and inspired and are ready Ready to create your own action plan to assess your options, get clear on your strategy, and get started on shoring up your finances, not only to survive this current crisis, but to thrive despite whatever life throws at you next. Lynnette shared a ton of resources, and I'll drop links to everything in the general links. I'm also including even more deep dive information for Advantage Evans members. And for a limited time, you can join us with a 1-year complimentary membership if you sign up for my mailing list at techintersectpodcast.com. A few takeaways. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Use Lynnette's strategy of placing 2 bets. It reduces risk, increases your options, diversifies your income streams, and gives you more career and professional alternatives. Be prepared, proactive, and encouraged. Tap into your full range of benefits and options, everything from unemployment to SBA loan funding with the Paycheck Protection Program and the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, sick pay, family medical leave, short-term disability, supplemental nutrition assistance, temporary assistance to needy families, retirement account withdrawals and loans, and more. And be sure to use code TONYA, TONYA, for 10% off of the Money Coach University course access. Okay, that's all for now. Until next time, continue to shine.
Stay in touch with host Tanya Evans via your favorite social media. On Twitter at Tech Intersect and on Instagram via the handle Tech Intersect. This podcast has been produced by Stephanie Renee for Soul Sanctuary Incorporated.